What are you working on at the moment?
Now we are organizing a new symposium of art critics. You know this symposium because you participated in the past. And now this year is in November, on the 16th and 17th, about art and precariousness. And we have invited the director of the Documenta.
Are you still doing it at Macba?
Yes, in the same place at Macba, yes. And now we have invited Francesco Jodice, Carolyn Christov-Bakargiev, the director of the Documenta, the two Spanish artists who have participated into the Documenta, and Bice Curiger, and Deepak Ananth, a specialist in art from the Indian art, and Antoni Llena, Catalan artist, who is working in this field.
Okay, so how do you see the situation for contemporary art, as we were saying before, in your country at the moment?
The problem is the public support to the structures, to the infrastructures. This is the main problem from this year and for the budget for the next year. Artists are following in the creation field, but the problems to survive without a market and without a very strong institutions, it is really difficult. They need to go outside, and now a lot of artists are trying to work in Brazil or trying to have grants to go to Berlin or to Paris, and we have a lot of artists spread it, in the world, working or trying to work outside, and they come back, they return, and they share the experiences,
How do you think that art is changing now according to the crisis that we are facing in Europe?
I think that something is really changing. I read an interview with Carsten Holler in this last issue of L'Officiel Art, and he said that we are living at the end of the representation era, that the artist is formulating questions. He hasn't answers. The artist is only able to give questions to the people in order to taste the reality. I think that the idea that the artist is the guide or he has a power, I think that he's disappearing. Artist is at the same level of the reality, and it is he's a kind of filter, he's not the beginning of nothing, and he's not the end of anything. The artist is not the alpha and omega of something. And I remember that in this same interview, Carsten Holler said that sabbatic year, in order to do a new thinking about his own work, and he tries to write something, or to write a book, or to write experiences. Now the artists don't need to follow in a way of production all the time. This stress for the production probably is finished.
What do you consider being the most interesting art experience at the moment in your country, in terms of research and artists that are in a way describing the contemporary situation in your country?
I think that we are now at the end of the conceptual generation. We have a kind of gap between this generation and the new generation. I think that we have some of them, some of the artists in the last 2-3 decades were following this way, or this conceptual way, or new conceptual way. But now we have a few artists that really are in a new interpretation of this way. In the activist field, for instance, Sanchez Castillo, he's very critical with political situations. And on the other hand, we have other artists, younger, that try to work into other fields. For instance, in the comic, as Francesco Jodice, who is a very good artist, not only in the way of drawings, but also in the installations with comic, with drawings, etc., and so on. And other conceptual or new conceptual artists that who are referring to other disciplines, art, visual arts, concerning the literature or the theater. For instance, Oriol Vilanova, who is a very young artist that now he's in Paris, and he's working in the art references. Or we have other well-known artists as Antoni Llena, mid-generation, he's late 40s, 50s, or Ignacia Valli, who is working in the middle between painting and conceptual art. We have other strong artists as Peppa Good, conceptual but projecting this conceptual art into the installations in the sense of art and language, but a new interpretation of this conceptual line. Eulalia Valdosera, is also a very good artist in the genre way, in the feminist way, or well, maybe it's enough.
Yes, of course. And what in terms of spaces, art spaces or galleries?
I think that the galleries are still in the exhibition format. Sometimes events, but we could recognize the same galleries that try to be into the new generations or new artists. For instance, Juana Díaz Puro, in Madrid, who is always, she tries to involve the new artists, as Dora García is in her gallery, or Fúcares is another gallery that tries to involve new artists. Well, I think that in Madrid the galleries are more active than in Barcelona. In Barcelona, probably there are more institutions with activities or new activities or alternative activities done in Madrid, but the market is lower. For instance, now we have Fabrico Arts, a new space for art in Barcelona. It is a very, very big factory that opened last month with a new exhibition about installations and performances. Now is a small space of 600 square meters, but the factory has more than 34,000 meters. Then we have a lot of possibilities to increase this space. These kind of spaces are now the most new spaces for art centers or public centers in Catalonia and galleries in Madrid.